Please confirm if you can see my screen. Before we start, let me introduce myself. My name is Mary Akintogbemisola, and I'm our facilitator for today. Yes. So you're all welcome, everyone. Okay, so let's just go right away. Are we ready for the training? Because I just want it to be as interactive as possible. Are we ready? What do you feel you would learn in today's class? You could just drop it in the chat box. What do you feel? Please, will you share the video after the class? Yep. We'll share the video after the class. Yes. Okay, so moving on. So when we are talking understanding, what's this now? Okay, understanding the virtual assistant industry. Okay, I'll just basically run us through the history or sorry, what brought about virtual assistants. Initially in our olden days, okay, it's just basically from it's the same thing we do when we talked about all those secretarial roles we have. That's like the traditional way of handling the virtual assistant thing. So brief history and evolution of a remote administrative support, the growth and global trend in the VA industry, the divination, the skill needed to be a VA, the types and the benefits. That's what we'll be talking about here. So let's go to the history and evolution of a virtual assistant. When we talk about history and evolution of virtual assistants, I believe most of us here know how virtual assistant thing started, right? And if I ask us to basically say, oh, it's actually started during the when the COVID-19 pandemic started. Yes, you're right. So virtual assistants actually originated from the traditional secretarial role, like I've said. We'll have let's use for an example in the ministries or every other organizations, or back in the days we have secretaries, people that mount the office, people that addresses things that either serve as a secretary or do some other administrative tasks. So it's just basically those role is what we are replicating. The difference is just that, initially the secretarial roles, they are physical thing, right? And now the remote or virtual means is you not being physically present. The difference between it is just the remote, the physical, being physical as a secretary and being working virtually. It's still the same thing. It's still the same task you're doing. It's still the same responsibility. What differs is just the presence, yes. And this grew with the rise of personal computers and internet. So back in the 20s, you have freelance platforms and cloud tools, accelerated growth, and all of that. So let's talk about the global growth and trend. So rapid growth and in freelance and remote industry. Everything started during the COVID, and now we are in the 21st century. People are no longer, in fact, a lot of people are going digital now, right? A lot of people are going digital. And I think based on the analysis last year, we have, let's say, over 50% of offices that are no longer operating like a physical office. They now operate um an hybrid or or fully remote, right? So it's everything is scaling. Even some organizations now don't even have a physical office anymore. So that is with that, there has been an increase in the demand of virtual services, right? And which I believe is why we are here. So rise of AI integrated VAs and hyper specialized role, business embracing remote first model and 21st century support. You know that if you're working remote, you can, in fact, they can get the best of you anytime, right? Unlike when you go physically. Yeah, so that's it. So on to the next. Who is a virtual assistant? A virtual assistant is a skilled professional who provide administrative, technical, creative, or specialized support services to individual, entrepreneur, and businesses remotely, emphasis on the remotely, usually for a home office or anywhere with internet access. Like Favor has said, as she has said, a virtual assistant is a skilled professional who provides services. As far as you have a skill, right, you can be a virtual assistant. Virtual assistant is not restricted to administrative roles alone. It's just basically in a way you could assist anybody in this category, be it an individual, be it entrepreneur, be it a business person, anybody at all, remotely, either from the comfort of your home or anywhere with internet access. That's you being a virtual assistant, right? So the services you could offer includes it could be administrative tasks like Favor said, managing emails or calendar, bookkeeping, customer service. I think Belumi mentioned something like that. Content creation, project management, social media management, and more. So virtual assistant is okay, I would say that virtual assistant is a task everybody can do. Anybody, anywhere, for anybody. So that's it. If what you know how to do alone is basically telling a story, there's someone out there that needs that service. If what you know how to do alone is just documentation, you just documenting something, there are people out there that really need that service. If what you know how to do alone is okay, I can handle your email correspondences, I can arrange your email templates and all of that. If that's all you know how to do, it is a service you're providing, and there are people out there that are looking forward to hire someone like you, right? So virtual assistant is something you do remotely anyway, right, in the world. So VA uses digital tools and communication platform. Okay, in your offices, you go to the office, you communicate with your colleagues, with your boss and all of that. But if you're working virtually, remotely, definitely there's no way you could have a physical contact with your colleagues or people at work. So there are some tools you need to use to make your work effective. So these are the VA tools, we have Zoom, we have Google Workspace, Slack, Asana, Trello, and many more to stay connected and productive. So moving on, let's talk about the key characteristics of a virtual assistant. What makes you a virtual assistant? What makes the job a virtual job, right? So here are the characteristics of a VE, the qualities that define your role and make them effective in a remote workplace. The first one is remote-based work. Of course, a virtual assistant work remotely from anywhere. You could work from your home, you could have your office workspace or anything. So what this does is allows you to support clients regardless of their geography, their location, using the tool that collaborate and communicate, provided what you're doing, um, how will I say it? Provided the services you're rendering is what your clients want, definitely, and you can't see the person, there are tools you should use, right? And what the tools does is to help you collaborate and communicate effectively as a VA. Are we together, please? Please, you could just drop an emoji. Let me know we
Yes,
are
please.
together. All right, thank you so much. All right, it's virtual assistant is a remote-based work. Example here is a VA in Lagos can manage emails and schedule for CEO in London. It can manage somebody's itinerary, right? You might be here in Nigeria and the person is not here. So key characteristics of a VA thing is remote-based work. Another thing is it's flexible and independent, right? A VA typically work as independent contractor or freelance, unlike when you go to your physical office. It is just like it is a traditional way of working. There are some things that they want you to do. You show up there. There are some tools that you cannot work with if you didn't really go to the office. Definitely, because most of the things you want to use are there. But this one is flexible and independent. You work on your own. If you like, use your phone, provided your phone can actually do what you want it to do. If you could use your laptop, you could be anywhere. You could be on your bed while working. Do you understand? So it's flexible and it's independent. While some people want a VA that work for them remote on a monthly basis, some people could just say, okay, My finance model for you or my payment terms with you could be per hour, it could be per text, it could be monthly retainer based on what the client needs, right? So another one is self-motivated and disciplined. Okay, so because you work independently as a VA, you there are some skills you really need to build, which are, you have to be self-motivated and disciplined. You know that you cannot wake up very early in the morning to say you're trying to get dressed to catch a bus and all of that. No. So since you can't do that, you work independently. So you must be proactive and be able to manage your time. Okay. As a VA, you want to be a disciplined and a productive one. You don't want to be your guy. You don't want to be, okay, let me use it like this. You don't want your boss to be your VA. Do you understand? Because as a VA, that is your boss, that is your VA. Why? Because they have to remind you of what you needed to do. They have to send you reminder of what you're supposed to send them reminder for. So as a VA, you set your priorities to meet deadlines and solve problems without constant oversight. So the next one is versatile skill sets. I think I mentioned this thing before we started the course. A VA offer ranges of service from from anything. It could be maybe some people want you to translate something for them. It's still a service you're rendering. If some people want you to help them write notes, type this thing for me, transcribe this thing for me, it's still a virtual services you're rendering. Okay, so it ranges from admin to any other. It could be specialized or personalized tasks they want you to do. So a VA might handle schedule, data entry, even graphics design in the same week. Okay. So strong communication, I will just go through this trustworthy, confidential, proactive, and solution-oriented, lifelong learner. So let's talk about the VA skills. The VA skills. So the important skills you need to have as a VA. What are the important skills you need to have before you consider yourself a VA, right? I think, you know, unlike some other career, yes, or jobs. Let's say, for instance, I am a project manager, or I don't want to use project manager, I'm an accountant. You might necessarily not say, okay, I might necessarily not need communication skills. The only person I might want to talk to or communicate with could be the AMD or my line manager or my HOD, right? I might not need some tech proficiency skill. The only thing I need is maybe some software thing, just mainly or strictly for accounting purposes. Do you understand? But you being a VA, there are these important skills you need to have. And the first is communication skills. You need to be able to communicate because the people you are working for, they are not with you. You guys don't share the same office space. And if you're working for somebody like me, for instance, and you're not giving me feedback, you're not giving me updates on the task I assigned to you, you are not fit to be my PA, to be my VA. It's as easy as that. So what will make you outstanding in your role as a VA is if you have a good communication skills, you know, be clear and professional in your while communicating with your client or your boss. Clear and professional written and verbal communication. Okay. Learn to meet your client expectation. Let's say, for instance, you won't be able to meet up with some task. Communicate ahead of time. Dear sir, dear ma, or hi ma, hi sir, I'm sorry, I won't be able to. What's going on? I'm sorry, I won't be able to finish this task. Why? You put your reason there. It's very, very important to have a good communication skills, time management, ability to prioritize and meet deadlines. Okay, we'll talk about that one further. Okay, and organizational skill. You have to be efficient in handling your task, files, schedule management, and all of that. You have to be organized. Okay, let something differentiate you from a normal person, right? So tech proficiency. As a VA, you need to be familiar with some tools like Google Workspace, Microsoft Office, Zoom, and Task Manager. Any tools that you know will make your work effective and easier. You need to be familiar with it. We are in the world of AI. You need to make your research. Okay. In fact, virtually, there's nothing you want to do right now that there's no AI for. Do you understand? There's nothing almost you want to do that you won't find AI app or something that will do it for you. So you have to keep learning. And adaptability, quick to learn, adjust to choose client and tasks. Like I just said, now AI is everywhere. Maybe your clients, you're scheduling a meeting with your for your boss or your clients, and you are still using your hand to write minutes of meeting. I don't understand. That means you're still far back because a lot of things has changed. So as they are changing, you need to adapt, you need to learn, you need to, you need to be on your feet, keep up with the trend, right? And another thing is problem solving skills. Maybe a task come up and is not in your plan or is not in your boss schedule. You should be able to think fast that, okay, what am I supposed to do? What are the steps I'm supposed to take and all of that? You need to have your problem solving skills and all. Confidentiality and integrity. This is very, very important. As an E, you need to keep some things confidential. You need to maintain professionalism in how you keep things confidential. You don't want to mess around because your boss can sue you if you leak any of their information. Do you understand? Maybe carelessly, consciously or unconsciously. So you need to be sensitive with those informations. As little as your boss payroll, as little as the data sheet you're handling, as little as a schedule, as little as itinerary, they needs to be confidential. All right. So let's talk about it. Customer service. You need to be friendly, responsive, and client focused. Don't be rigid. Be friendly, be flexible as a virtual assistant. Okay, not the one that you're supposed to talk to, yeah, you understand. You respond in a very rude way. So you need to have that customer service king. Okay, because in that aspect, when I used to be a customer service person, and what they always tell us is that customers are king, so you need to treat them as one. So the same way your boss is a king, treat him or her as a king. Any other person that is interfacing with you, treat them as a king. All right. So attention to details as a VA, you don't want to miss any details because as little as one detail you miss could cost a lot, not to you alone, to your boss. You need to be attentive, like if you're handling their emails, if you're doing anything like data entry, reports, and all, you need to be careful. You need to check, recheck, and double check your work. So proactiveness. Nobody wants to hire a VA that does not take initiative. Nobody wants to hire a VA that doesn't know what to do. Nobody wants to hire a VA that does not know the next thing to do. Okay, you've been working with this person for like, let's say a week or 2 weeks. By now, the boss is still reminding you of what you should be reminding him or her. It doesn't really work. You have to think on think fast. Know what to do. Be ahead of your boss. That's what makes you an outstanding virtual assistant. Be ahead. Think ahead for them. That's why they hire you. If they can do it by themselves, they won't hire you. So let them see the reason why they are paying you. Common types of virtual assistants. Common types of virtual assistants. Okay, I think I should stop here so I could drop the link.